Good morning, my beautiful children. How are you today? Well, today I'm going to explain to you the chapter voice, active and passive voice. I mean to say, I'm going to explain a sentence where the meaning is same but the form is different. Well, let me tell you something. For instance, just listen to me carefully. The first sentence is Renu plays tennis. And the second sentence, which means the same, tennis is played by Renu. These two sentences mean the same, but they are different in form. And there is a slight difference of emphasis also. In sentence 1, the verb is plays. Renu is the subject of the verb plays. She also performs the action of playing. When the subject of a verb also performs the action named in the verb is said to be in the active voice. In sentence 2, the verb is played. Tennis is the subject of the verb is played. But tennis does not perform the action of playing. In fact, it receives the action of playing. When the subject of a verb receives the action named in the verb is said to be in the passive voice. Since sentence 1 begins with Renu, the emphasis is on Renu. In sentence 2, the emphasis is on tennis. It is more natural to use the active voice. Besides, sentences written in the active voice are shorter and more elegant. But sometimes we do not know who has performed an action, or we want to put emphasis on the person or thing that receives the action, in which such cases we use the passive voice. For example, my pocket was picked. I do not know who picked my pocket. The second sentence is the letter was dispatched by Ravi in time. I want to put emphasis on the letter. Changing sentences from active to passive voice. Once again, look at the two sentences. Renu plays tennis. Tennis is played by Renu. Just note how the form has changed. The active object, tennis, has become the passive subject. Number 2, the active subject Renu has become the passive object. And we have used the preposition by before it. An appropriate form of the verb be is has been used followed by the third form of the verb played. Note: only transitive verbs can be changed into passive voice. In passive voice, we always use the third form of the verb. Sometimes we may have a personal pronoun I, we, she, me, her, etc. as the subject or the object in a sentence. While changing the voice of such a sentence, we shall have to handle the pronoun carefully. I help my friends, active voice. And the passive voice is, my friends are helped by me. Again comes to active voice. Her cousins encouraged her. Now the passive voice is, she was encouraged by her cousins. Next point is, sometimes the active verb is followed by a preposition. This preposition is retained while changing the verb from active to passive voice. For example, a nurse looks after his little girl. This is active voice, and the passive voice of it is, the little girl is looked after by a nurse. Next point, if an interrogative sentence is being changed into passive voice, it will retain its interrogative form. For example, am I disturbing you? Active voice. The passive voice of which is, are you being disturbed by me? Next sentence, in active voice, when did you buy this wall clock? Passive voice is, when was this wall clock bought by you? Next point, if the subject in the active sentence is not very important, we need not mention it when we express the sentence in the passive voice. Somebody stole my purse. My purse was stolen. We have not used the words by somebody. Now comes simple present. He writes poems. Poems are written by him. My parents love me. I am loved by my parents. Do you need money? Is money needed by you? Active voice. Who makes these designs? Passive voices. By whom are these designs made? Active voice. First form of the verb, sometimes with s or es, writes, loves, etc. And passive voice is, are, am plus third form of the verb, are written, am loved, etc. Now comes simple past. The next point before you is simple past. A very old friend helped me. This is the active form. And the passive form is, I was helped by a very old friend. Active voice, did the maid break the jug? The passive form is, was the jug broken by the maid? Next, active voice, where did you find this beautiful shell? Passive voices, where was this beautiful shell found by you? In active voice, second form of the verb, helped. In passive voice, was, were, third form of the verb, that is, was helped. Now comes simple future tense. Active voice, I will buy the tickets in advance. Passive voice is, the tickets will be bought in advance. Will you help me? Active voice. Passive voice is, shall, will I be helped by you? Active voice, shall or will plus first form of the verb, will by. Passive voice shall be, will be plus third form of the verb. Now we come to present continuous tense. For instance, active voice, somebody is knocking at the door. Passive form, the door is being knocked at. Active voice, why are they bothering me? Passive voice, why am I being bothered? Active voice is, are, am plus ing form of the verb. Is knocking. Passive voice is, are, am plus being plus third form of the verb. That is being knocked. Past continuous tense. The porter was carrying the luggage. That is the active form. And the passive form is the luggage was being carried by the porter. Here we have active voice, was, were plus ing form of the verb, was carrying, and passive voice, was, were, being plus third form of the verb, that is was being carried. Future continuous tense. Verbs in the future continuous tense cannot be expressed in the passive voice. Present perfect tense. Active voice, we have won the match. Passive voice, the match has been won by us. Again we have, has she learned the speech? Active voice. Passive voices, has the speech been learnt by her? Next is past perfect tense. Here we have in active voice, we had finished the work before sunset. And the passive form is, the work had been finished by us before sunset. Active voice again, had they already repaired the roads? Passive voices, had the roads been already repaired? We have active voice had plus third form of the verb, that is had finished. In passive voice, we have had plus been plus third form of the verb had been finished. Next we have future perfect tense. In active voice, we have an example here. They will have finished the breakfast by 8. That is the active form. We come to the passive form, that is the breakfast will have been finished by 8. The next example is, will you have checked these papers before Monday? The passive form is, will these papers have been checked by you before Monday? Hence, active voice shall, will plus have plus third form of the verb will have finished. Next, we come to passive voice where it is shall, will plus have been plus third form of the verb will have been finished. Thank you, children.